I did a video not that long ago talking about the pros and cons of weapon-mounted lights, and I featured the particular weapon-mounted light I use on my everyday carry. And I got a lot of questions in different areas with regards to what firearms that the light can mount onto. And it's a little bit easier to show you than it is just simply to tell you. So we're going to check that out right now. This is Urban Sentinel. Let's get into it. So the TLR1 by Streamlight. It's a tactical weapon flashlight. The overall length is about 3.5 inches. At the rear of it is a toggle switch. Two positions. One is a temporary on, the other direction is a permanent on. You can operate it with either finger, so whether you're left-handed or right-handed, it'll perform the same function. The key thing that you have to take into account when mounting it to a handgun is the area here where it connects to the rail, and specifically this notch. Now on this model, if you notice here, this little screw top area does just that. This is where you can open and expand it to slip it onto the rail, and then you counterclockwise, righty-tighty, and tighten it up so it stays on there. This bar is where your pick rail needs to rest on top to secure it. So I'll show you on my primary gun, which is a Springfield XD in 45. You have these two notches, and this overall space here is about 2 inches from front to back. So it allows me to line it up on the grooves. I push in on that knob, slide it back, get it up over that top of that notch area, and then it locks in. And of course I would twist it, lock it in to secure it. But as you can see, my trigger finger can reach the switch. I can turn it on, or I can go the other way and have a temporary light illumination. Now with some other semi-autos, pull that off, such as my Desert Eagle, which is a 1911, much longer rail section for it to lock onto, but still the same principle. You slip it in, with a little bit more space. Yeah. The rail on the 1911 is a little bit wider than on the Springfield, so I have to adjust that. But you get it in, then you lock it down. Now in this case, it's a little bit farther up. I can move it to the next notch over and have a little bit easier reach with my fingertip. So once you have it on, I got it slid back here. And that's how it would work. Now, the key thing in that case is you need to know the length in inches that you have from the end of your rail to the trigger guard to make sure you have sufficient clearance. So here it's about 2¼ inch distance between there. On the Springfield, it's just at the 2 inches. Now on a slightly smaller gun, such as the Springfield XDE, you take note, one, only a single notch right here. The position of the notch and the overall length of the light, it is not going to reach, not going to connect. This will not mount to it. It's too small of a frame. On the Smith & Wesson, this is M&P Shields 380. sufficient notches, but once again, the overall length, it just won't make it. There is literally probably 1/8 of an inch of space that it needs to get over to get up there. So the key thing is you look at the overall length of the light, but you need to be able to see how much distance of that is for the rail and what length of rail you have for the handgun that you're going to be using. Now with Streamlight, they make several different models. The TRL-1, I picked it because one, overall, it was what I wanted for what I needed. I had this older, less expensive highlight. It's a HL-P10S. It's a tactical LED light. This one I actually keep on the 1911 because this is, I'll call it my nightstand firearm by the bedside. It uses a different locking mechanism. You can see a small spring in there, and this is a paddle with the lock notch there. So these two tabs in the front, simply just push down, and as you slide it in along the rail, you release it at the position you want it, and it locks it in. Now this is one, it's pretty easy to slip on and off. The light illumination from this one in comparison to the Streamlight, the Streamlight is significantly better overall. Do a little light comparison between the two. So you can just see the illumination. They're side by side. The Streamlight has definitely a brighter beam and a wider cone area, illuminating much more of the surface. But for the purpose that I use it, this is just for immediately by the bed versus my everyday carry, something that I may have on me, you know, late at night, early in the morning, whatever the case may be. So you really have to really understand the firearm that you're going to be mounting it to and the area that you have for space along the rail in comparison to the light, because many of these lights fit so many different firearms from different makes and models that there's no one way to definitively say, okay, this will or will not. When you go through the list, you have to find your, you know, who made your gun, what model you have, and it might be a slight change from a similar model made by the same manufacturer 2-3 years later, where they lengthened something or they shortened something. And that's primarily what you want. You want to make sure that you get the right fit, that it stays on, stays secure, but it also doesn't interfere with the use of the firearm. You're able to manipulate it and use it in any way that you need to. So that being said, take that into consideration with any of the weapon lights that you're looking at, whether it's Streamlight, O-Light, it really doesn't matter. You need to make sure that the light itself is going to fit for the firearm that you're using, and that even with that, if you're going to have it holster, do you have a holster that will accommodate, because not all holsters are designed to accommodate a light on top of the firearm itself. They're just made for the firearm. So now you have to make sure that you have a proper fitting holster if you're going to keep that attached to your firearm, or if you're just planning on keeping it in a nightstand drawer. That's a totally different situation altogether. And then the next thing you have to take into account are the lumens that it has on it. How bright is it? How wide is that beam? Is it a tightly focused beam, or does it have a wide area of scatter? Or is it a dual lens beam where you can adjust it, switch it to a single beam, to a strobe, that sort of thing. And a lot of that does come down to personal choice. You can get weapon mounted lights, or you can have lasers attached. You know, me personally, I'm not a laser person because it's just not my thing. When it comes to a handgun, it can be helpful, and I've seen plenty of people shoot extremely accurate with the laser mounted on there, but I myself would rather have the target illuminated and know that that's where the target is, that's what I'm shooting at, and be able to see everything near and around it, because again, I'm going to be using it in a very low to no light situation. So I'd rather have that than have a laser that may tell me, oh, the laser is pointed here, but I can't see what here is and what's behind whatever that thing is in front of me. So that, again, that's something you have to take into consideration when you're going to start adding attachments to your handgun. Anyway, that's it for now. Catch you guys in the next one.